First and foremost, I'm gonna give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem, Rakakudash. Yahweh to this world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai to this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Ba'Shem means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Qudash means holy. And that's on the Paleo Hebrew. Also, give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. And I want to start here in 1 Thessalonians chapter 3 and verse 2. We'll start at verse 1. It says, Encouragement of Timothy's visit. Wherefore, when we could no longer forbear, we thought it good to be left at Athens alone, and sent Timotheus, our brother and minister of God, and our fellow laborer in the gospel of Mashiach, to establish you and to comfort you concerning your faith, that no man should be moved by these afflictions, for yourselves know that we are appointed thereunto. For verily, when we were with you, we told you before that we should suffer tribulation, even as it came to pass. And ye know, for this cause, when I could no longer forbear, I sent to know your faith, lest by some means the tempter have tempted you, and our labor be in vain. Okay, and the reason I go into this, or I'm starting the video off with this scripture, is because this gives you the blueprint as to how your walk is going to be. Okay? Hey, it is 100% guaranteed we are going to suffer tribulation. Now let's see what that word tribulation means. It says to press hard upon, to press, a compressed way, narrow, straightened, contracted, metaphorically to trouble, afflict, distress, right? So if you go through tribulation, that means that you are being ultimately afflicted, okay, distressed. Let's see that word. Extreme anxiety, sorrow, or pain, right? That could be bodily pain, that could be emotional pain, right? Some type of loss, anxiety or sorrow, right? Just that doubt, putting that doubt in your mind. And that's one of the ways that Satan operates, is he's going to attack your mind. Okay, he's going to put thoughts in your mind to ultimately make you go off, right? So in Thessalonians, it says, Hey, for this cause, when I could no longer forbear, I sent to know your faith, lest by some means the tempter have tempted you, and our labor be in vain. Right? So pretty much he wanted to know if, his flock were still believing, because the tempter is out there, which is Satan. Okay, Satan, he wants you to sin. He wants you to go off. He wants you to just give up, to throw in the towel. And that's the thing about these tests, is these tests, these tribulations that are thrown upon us, are ultimately tests of faith, right? It's a test to see if you're going to believe when you're completely at the bottom. If you're going to believe when you've been brought up and brought back down and brought back down and brought back down. Are you going to keep on believing no matter how many times you get tried? And that's this walk, and that's the straight gate. So let's get that in Luke chapter 13 and verse 24. I'll start at verse 23. It says, Then said one unto him, Lord, are there few that be saved? And he said unto them, Strive to enter in at the straight gate, for many, I say unto you, will seek to enter in, and shall not be able. And when you go into that word straight, it goes into a narrow passage. Straight refers to a difficult situation or position of distress, right? So this path we're going through is going to be a constant position. We're going to be in a constant position for majority of the time of difficulty and distress, of anxiety, okay? But hey, that's part of the process. That's part of what we have to endure, so that when this society collapses, we are taken care of. And it says, well, many will say, for many I say unto you, will seek to enter in and shall not be able, right? Because they can't endure the afflictions, right? They can't be, hard when the Lord starts testing you hardcore. The Lord strips you bare. But ultimately, all those tests are really to build us up, to build character, and the Lord getting rid of those impurities that you have inside of you. Because it says in Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 8, And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yahweh is my power. Right, so going into how 2/3 of our people are going to be destroyed, and 1/3 are going to be saved. And it says that that third part is going to be put through that fire. Okay, we are going to be refined as silver, tried as gold. And when you go into the process of silver being refined and gold being tried, you have to put those objects, those metals, in the fire. You got to put them through extreme heat in order to bend them and get rid of the impurities they have. So it's the same thing with us. The Lord has to put you through extreme heat to bend you and mold you to make you more righteous. Because sadly, we are a nation of hard-headed people, rebellious, stiff-necked, and that's just the way it is. So the Lord has to, knock us a couple times on the head, to get us on the right path, to finally make us realize what we have to learn. So let's go to Ecclesiasticus chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Right? So right off the rip, it's telling you, prepare to be tempted. Let's go into that word temptation. Temptation is the desire to do something you know you shouldn't, or the act of being enticed to do wrong. It can be a desire for something that threatens your long-term goals, or in a religious context, an incitement to sin. Right? Because if you sin, guess what? That's taken away from the long-term goal, which is salvation. Right? If you sin and sin and sin, you're wicked. And the Lord is not going to save somebody that is in a life of sin, willfully. It says that in Hebrews, how if we sin willfully, there is no remission of sins. Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 26, for if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins, but a certain fearful looking for of judgment and fiery indignation which shall devour the adversaries. Right? So you can't do the wrong thing knowingly. Right? It even says when you go into the servant that knew his master's will and did not. Let's get that in Luke chapter 12 and verse 47. And that servant which knew his Lord's will and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes. But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. Right? So if you know what to do and you don't do it, there's a bigger punishment than not knowing at all and doing it. So that's why it says, unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And when you go into this knowledge, truth, and understanding, this is one of the greatest things. It is the greatest thing that the Lord can give you, can give an individual, is this wisdom. Because this is the wisdom that is going to protect us and save us in these coming days. Lord willing, I'm part of that number. So verse 2, set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Right, so when you're going through it, you're being chastised, you low, you're supposed to be cheerful, you're supposed to be patient, you're supposed to be happy, because that means that the Lord is dealing with you. Okay? Let's actually get that in Corinthians. I believe it's Hebrews 12. Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 5, it says, and ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord loveth he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If you endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. Right? So if you going through it, you being tested, and you're supposed to rejoice, because that means that the Lord is dealing with you. But if nothing's happening to you, life is going sweet and well, then you got to check yourself, because a requirement of being on the right path is a path of difficulty. So it doesn't mean that in this walk we're not going to have times where we're up. It's a balance, but just know that it's a balance. Right? Those times that you're up, you just know eventually, the Lord's going to test you again. So just wanted to go into that again, and going back to 1 Thessalonians chapter 3 and verse 3, that no man should be moved by these afflictions, for yourselves know that we are appointed thereunto. Right? So we are appointed to be afflicted. Don't be surprised when shit hits the fan in your life. It's exactly what's supposed to happen. So hopefully this was edifying. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakakudash, and double honors to the other bishops and apostles of Great Millstone at time of this truth. Shalom to you, elect. Shalom.